Hi everyone, it's Anne here from Positively Papercraft, and I'm back today with a little tutorial. Now, it's been really fun because I've been messing around with distress oxides and all that fun stuff, and I've really enjoyed it. So I'm going to show you what we're going to make. So this was just an idea that I had. I'm going to show you what this is. So it's basically a pop-up kind of coffin card. These kind of things have been around for ages and I've made a few myself, but then I had an idea of turning it into like a coffin. Really easy to make, and I just had so much fun. And what I used was a lady called Melissa reached out to me and said that she had got a new supplier on her website of these whimsy stamps. So I'm going to put the link to Melissa's website. I believe is it Morva or Morva Crafts, but I'll put the link below. And she asked if she could send me some stuff and I could have a play with them, and I picked these because I just thought they were so cute for Halloween. This stamp set, oh, I love this. The little sentiments, like you've got this little skeleton little thing and he's like saying pinchy pinchy, wait, come back, I just want to pick your brain. Of course I like to make you run and scream, after all it is Halloween. So it's just really fun, and I used him there, and I put, you know, the little pinchy, used the little tombstone, and these are the little tags, the ticket stamps, and you get like there's a die as well. So I'm going to show you how I made this, and I'm going to show you how I created the backgrounds and everything. So we'll make the card base first. It's really easy, and the coffin, I do have some coffin dies, but I'm going to give you the measurements. You don't need them, you can easily make them without dies, so you don't need any dies for this card. So let me get this ready. I've got so much going on the desk, it's unbelievable. Right, so this measures 11. I've got my measurements somewhere. It measures 11 by, oh, honestly I'm useless, 4 1/4. Here we are. So you're going to score on the long side at 1 inch, 2 3/4, 3 3/4, 5 1/2, 7 1/4, 8 1/4, and 10 inches, and that's it. And then you're going to take something to cut a line. So you've got the 5 1/2 inch score line, which is right in the middle, for example. So I'm going to take a ruler and just a knife here, and from 1 centimetre to 10 centimetres I'm going to cut just a line straight down that 5 1/2 inch score line. So from 1 centimetre to about 10, 1 to 10, and that will give you your line if I had cut it properly. See, there we go. So it just gives you a slit to pop your little coffin inside. So just fold this. It's honestly, it's so easy to make, and it will end up folding like this, and we'll put our little coffin in there. But we're not going to do that now because we need to decorate our coffin and everything. I've got the paper that I've cut to decorate it. I just used this paper pad I've had for ages, Craft Consortium Happy Haunting. Of course you use whatever you've got. So the papers, you're going to need 4, which are 4 1/8 by 1 5/8. and then you're going to need 2 which are 4 1/8 by 7/8 of an inch. Right, so that's what we've got. We're not going to be gluing this together or anything yet. Okay, let's put that to one side. So for the coffin, I've already cut mine out of the dies, but as I said, you don't need them. So I've got 2. So I've got the big one, which is going to be obviously like a layering piece, and then that will be the front piece which we're going to do our inking and stuff on. So for the big coffin, you are going to need a piece of card which is approximately 6 3/8 by 3 7/8. Okay, so I've got a pencil because then I'm going to give you the measurements. I'm just going to mark my paper, and here and here. Right, so you are going to measure along the bottom, you're going to measure in 1 inch on each side, and then you're going to measure up 4 7/8. So from 1 inch along the bottom, 4 7/8, you're going to draw your line. Same on the other side. And then from that line, so then along the top, you're going to measure along, I would say that's 1 inch, no, 7/8. So measure in 7/8 each side, and then join those 2 lines up, and this will give you your coffin shape. I'll put the measurements on the screen, and then obviously you're just going to come along and you're going to cut this out. If you want to use a trimmer, that's fine. I'm just showing you that it works just the same if you don't have any coffin dies. Alright, so that's for your base bit, and then for your smaller piece, your card needs to be 3 3/8 by 6 inches. So you're going to measure along the bottom 7/8 again. So 7/8 on each side, measure in, and then up to the middle of the top, you're going to measure up 4 5/8. So 4 5/8 each side. And then along the top, it's going to be 7/8 again. So measure 7/8 each side again. And then again, you're just going to come in and you're going to match those lines up. So it's really easy just to make your own, and this will be your layering piece. So this is the bit you're going to put your inking or whatever you're going to do, pattern paper, it's up to you what you're going to do. and then again you're just going to come along and you're going to cut this out. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing to get your 2 coffins. Right, so I've got the layering bit of the coffin, and I've got some of this sort of masking stuff here, but you can use like paper and just, you know, a little bit of removable adhesive and stick it down. So this is going to be for the moon. I've got a 2 1/4 inch circle punch here, so I'm going to punch that out, and then I'm going to peel the backing off. And then I'm going to decide where I'm going to have my moon, so probably there, and stick that down. Right, and then I've got, for the inks I've used Dusty Concord, Valenius Portion, and Black Soot I think I used as well. So I've got some little ink things here. That was the black. So I'm going to go in with the Dusty Concord, and I'm basically just going to cover like the whole of the coffin with it. Right, so that's that covered. And then I'm going to take some of the Valenius Portion, or however you pronounce it, and I'm going to put some on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of come in just around the edges of it. Do you see, just so it's sort of creating that, you know, kind of like shadowy look around the outside. Right, and that's basically it for now. We'll do the black later, and then I'm going to peel off the masking tape, and that's left my little moon. Now I don't have like a specific stencil to make these, you know, like the little thing, shadowy bits in the moon. So I raided me stencils and I found this, which has actually worked really well. So I'm just going to pick some of it, and then I took some Lost Shadow. I think I just used this little spongy thing, just put some of this on, and I thought it worked quite well. And then just dab this onto your little moon. Because I know you can get specific stencils to make these kind of bits on the moon, and I thought, well, I'm going to root about in my stash and see what I've got, and I found this, and I think that works quite well. It's a bit darker than the other one I use, but you can go over this. So yeah, like that one, I think I did it quite light. I've done this one a bit darker than I probably would like, but it'll do. Yeah, I did that one a lot lighter. I'm not really happy with that actually, but never mind, it's done now. I just think that one looks better because I haven't like done it as, you know, as dark, but it's okay. Once we get our bats and things on, it'll be fine. So I'm going to take the stamp set, this one here, which is Halloween Scream, and I'm going to use this again. Now, what you've got to remember is when we do this card, we're not going to see, I would say, probably the first inch of the bottom of this coffin. So there's no point stamping it right at the bottom. You want to stamp it like an inch up, because obviously, well, you know, you're just not going to see it. So you can see here, so you need to really come up quite a bit. Otherwise it's just going to hide your design. So I'm probably going to do mine about here, which is about, yeah, it's about 1.5 inches up from the bottom. So remember that, or it'll just cover all of your design. So I'm just going to stamp it with black VersaFine. They're really good quality stamps as well. They stamp beautifully and they clean really well. So plenty on there, and I'm going to stamp it, yeah, about here. Perfect. And you can heat emboss it as well. I'm not going to on this, but we're going to on the tickets because it does look really nice. So we've got that on there. Now what you can do as well is, I forgot to bring some tissue just to tick. So I got some kitchen roll. So what you can do is, if you just take like a bit of water, and I've got this little splattery brush, you can just sprinkle like water on it, and it just gives a really nice effect. I think on the original one I used some white acrylic paint on it, but there you can just use water on it, sort of like a bleachy technique, isn't it really? It just takes the colour out. But I think this one I used white paint and maybe it's a bit of gold as well. I used some gold paint too, but I'm just going to have it like that for now. So I've got that done, and obviously if you want to add other things or images, it's entirely up to you. So right, we're going to take our little base now, but first we're going to glue this on to our larger black coffin. So I will glue that on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the coffin in our slit, okay, and we're going to turn it this way. We're going to bend this over, and we need to glue the coffin. So pull it through, and we need to glue it on here. So I'm just going to put some glue on there. We're going to glue the coffin in, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cover this whole bit with glue as well. Actually, I don't think we need it on the coffin, just the other bit, and then we're going to fold this over and we're going to glue this together. So that when we push this down, that's what we have. Now see what I mean about the stamp. If you're stamping it at the bottom, you're not even going to see it, so don't make that mistake. And then it just folds up flat for your envelope. So we've got that. That's our coffin done. And then I want to take some of the other stamps because I want to make a little ticket decoration and some little bits for the front. So this time I might do this little mummy. Now I don't have the dies for these, I just fussy cut mine out. I am pretty good at fussy cutting, just practice over the years, so it doesn't really bother us. I know this one's going to be harder, but I think I can do it. So I'm going to stamp these two and I'm going to colour them in with the Zig real brush pens because I just prefer them to alcohol markers. I don't know what it is, I just can't get away with alcohol markers. I've tried and I just don't think it's for me. So I'm going to stamp these on, is it Bristol Smooth cardstock? That's what I find works better with like brush pens and stuff. Yeah, this one here, you get a much better result with your sort of ink moving around. So I've got a scrap bit of that and I'm going to stamp him and the little tombstone, and I will just fussy cut them out. So I'll probably just speed this up while I do this. I'll just stamp them again with the same VersaFine ink. There we go. Who needs a die when you've got me? Honestly, these scissors are a godsend when you're fussy cutting, and you just move the paper, not the scissors, and you'll actually, if you practice, you'll be surprised at what you can actually fussy cut out. I mean, I know dies are so much easier, but we don't always have them, do we? So anyway, right, what we're going to do is we're going to put our little mummy on here, probably something like this. And obviously if this wasn't the kind of card it was, I would probably put them here, but I can't because when we close the design it isn't gonna close, is it? So for now these are just gonna go on the front, and we're gonna do a ticket across the side. So let me get this tidied away and we'll do the ticket. Okay, so let's move on to the next bit. So making the tickets. Now this is the die, it cuts it out all out as one, and this is the stamp. Now I think you can get dies which cut out this bit as well if you wanted to like layer it on, but to be honest you could probably cut them out by hand as well. However, I'm not going to do it that way. So got the die, there's a bit of Right, so I've cut it out of card, just white cardstock, and I've got my ink. So I've got Twisted Citron. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ink and just randomly I'm going to sort of put this ink mainly in the middle, like just cover the sort of middle of what the tickets would be. Right, just something like that. Don't worry about it being precise or anything. It does look nice when it's finished, trust us. So just slap this on. Right, so we've got that. Now I'm going to take the Dusty Concord again. And we're going to sort of go around the outside with this ink. So and you see we're sort of going around it, but we're not necessarily covering all of the green. We're sort of going around it, so it's still leaving the green sort of in the middle, like that. And we're just going to do that on all of them. And I'm only going to make one ticket now, but I have these rest already inked ready for when I want to make another two, because I can, you know, you can like use these for little tags and stuff. I love these little stamps and dies, they're really nice. So I've got that, and then I'm going to go in with the where's the other one, with the Thelonious portion again, and then I'm going to go around the outside, so just on the sort of edge of this. And what's nice is when you do it with this, it kind of makes the stitching stand out more. It makes it look like really white, so that looks really nice. So basically that's all I'm going to do. We'll go in with some black as well at the end, and then I'm going to pick the stamps that I'm using. So this time I've gone for the Happy Halloween, and I might go for the Admit one, the little ghosty on the side. So there's the stamp. I'm just going to go in this bottom one here, but I'm going to heat emboss it straight away with clear embossing powder, because it does look really nice. So just versifying. I'll just take the lid off this ready, and then I'm going to stamp the ticket. And then straight away just pour the embossing powder on it. And I haven't used like an embossing buddy because it's clear powder. I'm not really bothered if it, you know, sticks to a few other places. And then I'm going to come in with the little ghosty. He's going to go on the side, and I'm going to emboss him as well. So Admit one. See, so that's stuck. So now we've just got to set it with our heat tool. And then I've got the rest of the tickets to just stamp the other ones on. Right, there you go. So can you see how it's give that lovely sort of glossy look? And even though bits of powder have stuck to the bottom, I don't actually mind that, because on this one it's still nice, but I didn't heat emboss it, and it's more duller, so I think heat embossing it is worth it. And that's what I mean about it's just showing that it's making the ticket look more lighter by putting the green in. And then another thing, of course, you can do as well, which I think will look quite nice, is I'm going to get the water again, and I'm just going to put a bit of water, and then just mop that up, and that's just created, you know, like some little dots and stuff. So that's our ticket. I'm just going to cut this. That is so cute. So I've got them to stamp as well when I'm ready. And then I'm just going to put some couple of foam pads on. Put that one there. And I'm going to put this on this part of our little card, and that's it basically. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you some ideas. I love these. So we can put him on there. There we go. How cute is that? Oh, we have to put our little bats on. Hang on, I've cut some little bats out. Yeah, I've cut my bats out. I've just used this Tim Holtz die, but of course use whatever you've got. And remember that when we close this up, you don't want the bats to catch, so close it while you glue the bats on, so you're not getting them in the way. And I'm going to quickly give you the size for the envelope as well, because I just made it on the envelope punch board, and it's a 4.5 by 7. So your paper will be 9 1/4 square, and you will score and punch at 3 3/4, and that makes the envelope, which is perfect for this card. So yes, I think they're really, really cute. Love them. And I added some Wink of Stella on them little bats, so I'll do the same with that. But yeah, I'll put the links down below. So thanks for watching, take care, and bye for now.